Hi everyone, welcome to The Feminine Force. We're delighted to have you here again on our Wednesday show. And hi Lisa, how are you? All the way from Sydney.
Hi everyone, welcome.
So everyone, we had talked about on Monday, we were following on our conversation, and what we really wanted to talk about and open up was the healing power of touch. And we've been discussing this in our lives and looking at how we can bring more care into our lives, into our own life, and into our lives as carers, as mothers, and as in our purpose, I suppose, in life. And I just think it's a really beautiful conversation to have and to open up about the healing power of touch, Lisa. And could you please share with us, I think you had a lovely story about somebody that you were working with recently and how you felt the power of touch helped in a kind of therapeutic setting. It'd be wonderful for you to share that with everybody, please.
I've watched it work amazingly in therapy as well as in my own life. So touch is a very good replacement for words. And because I'm right into emotions and I deal with emotions and I help people understand their own emotions, one of the things I've observed is that when somebody feels very emotional and they have a big reaction or they're feeling upset or whatever it is, when we try to, and this is, we're often programmed to want to make it right for them. We want to make them feel better. We want to try and fix it or sort out their problem, especially as mums. We tend to step into that role. And it's very hard not to give advice as a mum. And that really doesn't help emotions at all. So I often use the metaphor of, like if you've got a child that's fallen over and they've grazed their knee, like we don't sort of stand back and go, now you've grazed your knee, you scratched it on some concrete, you need to get up and you need to put something on it. And really, if you think about it, our emotions are just like that. If we've got a feeling, we don't need someone to tell us what we need to do next. We don't need someone to tell us what's going on, that we've grazed our knee. We actually need someone just to accompany us in the feeling. And sometimes it's hard for us accompaniers. So if, for me, just remembering that all I need to do is to be there for that person and just put a hand on their arm, or like in my experience the other day, actually putting my arm around the person allowed them to feel so safe and supported, and they could just have a cry, they could express what they were feeling, and they probably wouldn't have felt safe enough to do that had I not given them that hold. So sometimes touch actually creates the space that allows us to feel our feelings. And for me, I think it's incredibly important. I also have a little disclaimer there. Some people don't like it. I'm a person that often touches people. Like I will often walk up to people, and when I say hi, I'll just touch their arm. Like because I'm sort of like that, and
Mm-hmm.
I have to remind myself sometimes that people might feel uncomfortable with that. But often, if you're supporting a loved one, you don't say anything. You don't have to say anything. The best way to validate somebody's feelings is to accompany them and just sit with them and put your arm around them and just be there with them. And that is when touch is just like the best solution.
Oh, I love that, Lisa. That's so gorgeous. It's so lovely to just highlight that, because it's care, really. It's an act of care. Care is love in action, I suppose. And like that feeling, the emanation even from the hands, like, of that sense. It's just a feeling. Sometimes it's not even, it's not just touch. It's like how you feel about the person and the care that you have for them. That, like we often say, like, words are very limited. It's hard to describe that feeling, that deep feeling of care and wanting to take somebody's pain away, but knowing that that's very difficult and the words are very limited. But sometimes it's like a hug, or a touch, or a hug. Like, hugs are just so amazing, because it's like as if it deflates pressure in the system or something, doesn't it? And I'm the same. Like, I'm always, like, our family, like, we're big huggers, so we're always hugging each other. Big bear hugs and stuff like that, because it's kind of like, it's a way to connect, isn't it? And it builds that bond and that connection that, like, no matter what's going on, you have that support. And, and for myself, recently, I got a really profound teaching about that because I was in the hospital having the radiotherapy. And you know, you kind of, you're in a vulnerable state, but the nurses, like, they're just so amazing. They're so caring and so gentle with their voice and the way they speak, the way they smile, and the way they touch, so gentle touch on you, even though, like, you're getting your, I suppose they were kind of placing me into a frame, and this kind of hard, very hard environment as such, I suppose, for in the treatment room. But the gentle, it kind of accentuated the humanity, the beauty of humanity, amongst it, in the contrast of that hard exterior, the softness and the way that they spoke to me and the way they touched me, and just even, putting plasters on and different things like that. It was just so beautiful. I just thought, like, I felt like a queen, I just felt like so cared for. And it was just amazing. It just, like, it was after, it was so heightened, the sense of touch, because you knew, their care was transmitted into you. And it's like as if that's a healing power nearly, just feeling that, and even with the doctor as well. I had a check up with her, and she was talking to me, and she held my hand while she was talking to me. And I was so aware that it wasn't like she didn't need to be holding my hand, but she was talking to me, and she was saying, oh, about your mum had died, and you're grieving and everything. And she really, I could just, even though she was in this a clinical setting, and the doctor's a little bit more professional and official, but she, as a person herself, was so caring. And she had that deep, she was an older woman, like she's in her 60s, I'd say, but that care, like that maternal instinct, was coming out in her, like the way she was holding on to me. And really, like, it's like as if I felt she nearly cared about my life more than I did. It was like she really woke me up to the present moment. She really woke me up to that, like, just with her care and her touch. I just thought it was just outstanding. It was just so beautiful. And it was just, when you think about the healing arts and hospitals, nurses, therapy, it is really when people are in their purpose, in that, doing that, that's the healing power. The power is in that, in that intention, in that feeling, in that care, in that loving for people they don't even know. You know what I mean? It's so amazing, isn't it? It's just, that's just what humanity is, I think, at its best, really, when we do that, when we can share that, with somebody that we don't even know. Fabulous, isn't it?
It is. And I actually think that maybe we underestimate it, or maybe we don't
Mm,
give it as much credit as what we could,
mm,
because
mhm,
even now when I'm thinking about it, when I've had to have a conversation that might be a hard conversation with somebody I love, I'll attempt, well, I try not to sit opposite them to start with. So I'll sit next to them, and if I'm
mm,
holding their, we're connected, and we can talk about whatever the issue is, like, in front of us on the table. We don't have to have it between us and creating conflict. But if you're holding that person's hand or you're connected to them, then they're feeling your love, they're feeling your support while you're having a
mm,
hard conversation. And often we don't do that because we're sort of like, I
mm.
don't know, we're protecting ourselves, or we're scared of how it's going to land, or we don't want to hurt their feelings. We're thinking all of these things, but actually just holding their hand while we're having those conversations, like, how powerful is that?
Yeah,
And like, even as a child, I remember sitting on my bed crying, and all I wanted was someone to come in and put their arm around me.
yeah,
You don't want people to talk to you. You just want people to be there with you while you have a good cry, and
yeah.
that's a solution for grief. People that have big loss,
Mm,
and we might love them, and they may have had experienced incredible loss, and
mm,
you honestly, you don't know what to say, because
mm.
there's nothing you can say, but they are the perfect times just to hug and to hold
Yeah,
with no words,
yeah.
and it is
That's really
it's
emotional
powerful.
support, isn't it? Emotional support is really, you know, that's, I suppose, when you feel emotionally supported, when somebody is not just, it's listening, but also like that care, that touch, that, you know, that's intimacy, you know, isn't it? You know, it's beautiful. That's so gorgeous and like that, I suppose, because of everything being online and everything being disconnected, I guess. You know, we haven't had that. And I think it's interesting to see like the I suppose we're craving that as well. You know, I think people are craving that again because maybe they haven't valued it, like you
Mm.
said, before. If it was, you know, you don't value something until it's taken away from you. When it's taken away from you, then you realize the value of it, you know, and how it does, and how communities really, people coming together, have that ability to regulate each other's emotional systems, you know, and their
That's what
nervous
they're doing.
system. Yeah.
Yeah, it's exactly what they're doing. And interestingly, like I've been involved in a lot of different therapies, and I've noticed sometimes when people are healing, because we hold emotions in our body, and sometimes when we're healing, just having somebody else put their hand on a certain place in our body can
Mm.
release emotion. And I've watched people burst into tears just by having a person put a bit of pressure on a part of the body. You know, like it's really, really interesting how
Mm.
touch can be used. Like I'm sure that we don't even know the half of it yet.
Yeah, and I was saying, sharing with Lisa that I had gone for a massage at the weekend because I was trying to give myself a bit of TLC during the treatment, and it's like, oh my god, you know, it was amazing how the Thai massager, she knew, she so much an awareness around the body. The minute she touched the body, she was like, oh, you know, you're going through something, or you know, she was able to tell from muscles and stuff, you know, and it was just so amazing. I just thought fabulous. And then after it, over the last couple of days, I was just been exhaling, 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 exhaling. It's like as if the working into that tightness in the muscles helped release all that emotional tension, you know, that I was kind of holding on to, you know, and just let go, let go, let go, you know. Just amazing, like all how everything fits in together, you know, and has that, once you start to, even like we were talking about expression and how we express when we talk about our feelings, we feel better. Like, you know, we are talking about our emotions, and then like the touch is another way of helping release that, isn't it?
Yep. And it is like
Mm.
being very conscious of that too. Like if you're in a relationship and you have a partner, and just allowing that partner just to touch you, like just really gently, but for no purpose, for no outcome,
Mm.
just for the touch, and just being really conscious to how the body receives that touch. You know,
Mm.
like what a beautiful experience. You know, like these sorts of experiences, like, oh, like aren't we lucky, right? We're in a human body. I think this all the time.
Yeah.
When we kiss somebody, right, we can actually feel somebody else's lips on ours because we have a human body. Like,
Yes. Yeah.
like what an
Yeah.
experience, like that
Yeah.
is that is even just that experience of touching lips with someone. Like we get to do that because we have lips, we have a human body, right?
Yeah.
And that is just so beautiful. Like just really
Yeah.
yes, please, says Scott.
Yeah, but it's like that is an expression of love, isn't it? You know, like if you're thanks Scott. Yeah, like it is an expression of love, you know, of care, of love, you know, but that's different from, I suppose, and it's amazing to look at that because you can think of, I suppose, for women as well, you know, it's amazing to think of like we have, as women, we have this feeling of our bodies are nearly sometimes not our own, because when you go into a relationship, sometimes it's like as if you feel a duty to be kind of that sexual thing. You need to satisfy or whatever your partner, or you need to be there like as a way of connecting. But like really, it's more about, I think, if women love just that sense of care. That's not what you said. Not attached to um, an outcome. You know, because like, you know, the way the dating process is so lovely because it's like that hasn't come into the equation yet. So there's loads of care and attention and affection and, you know, kind of intimacy. And then it's like the minute sex comes in, it's like, okay, that's all gone. We've done that. We've done that. That's done. You know, you know, like I think for women or for men to understand that, like women love that part of it, you know, before, you know, and like, it's a constant, the constant care and attention. And I suppose we love to do that as well. We love to give that as well. And that's part of like the maternal instinct as well. It's the caring for, and it's always around touch, and it's always around wanting to care for, wanting to nurture, wanting to ease, like, you know, the pain, like you say, we know if you've got a cut, if a child has a cut, or anyone falls down, or anyone has that emotional pain, you just like, you know, you feel it in your own body, so you can't help it. It's like you're just this cell that comes straight in, wants to help, you know, and it's it's beautiful. Like it's a beautiful, I suppose, way of humans being able to express that love, that care, that attention, you know, and to really feel it, or to feel it, you know, not just to do it, not to get to an outcome kind of thing, you know, to be in the moment is amazing, you know.
It is, and it is one of our senses, the sense of touch. So
Yeah. Yes,
we're
yes, 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 yes.
feeling, yeah, it's pretty underrated. So yeah, I totally think that touch is maybe something that, you know, I'm probably gonna I've done also like experienced a lot of healing touch from, you know, people that will use their hands, you know, the healing hands type of touch, you know, that those sorts of experiences, Reiki, all those sorts of things. Like there's another level of touch there. Like we've just so much in touching. And even like when I go for walks, sometimes, you know, you see beautiful bushes that you might walk past, and just to feel textures, you know, like it's
Yes,
really brings you into this moment,
yeah.
actually consciously using that sense to
Mm,
experience. You know, and there are some people that are more kinesthetic than others, and
mm,
texture is really important for them. You know, like they can't wear certain clothes, like that feeling of
mm,
things, feeling of
mm.
certain textures, and you know, and that's all information. Like if we don't have
Absolutely.
sight, for
Yes,
example,
yeah.
our hands, our feelings, our
Mm.
touch gives us so much information that maybe those of us with sight, we miss a lot of that.
Yeah, that's a brilliant point because that brings me right back to when you say that when I was in art college with all my friends. Maybe it's just that people that are artistic tend to be very sensitive, but we used to touch everything. We'd go around, we were touching fabrics, touching, you know, touching everything. It was like we were, everything was like, oh my God, look at this, you know, and you'd look at the texture of it and the feeling of it and get inspired by it. And you're going to nature and you're like, oh my God, look at this. You know, everything's like complete wonder, like, oh my God, this is really kind of dry and crunchy. And then something else is really smooth and, you know, kind of silky or whatever, like just, and then you're trying to bring that inspires you then. And it kind of creates this language, like, you know, like poetry is like that as well. You use like all those language of like texture and color and sense and feeling and everything. It's
Mm,
part of like the information like of life, you know, but it's like you need to be in touch with that yourself, you know. And I suppose like it's amazing to think about that. And I was thinking about, you know, yoga as well, and um a lot of the practices in that sometimes are that kind of self touching, another way you massage your feet, and like the
mm,
self touching and rubbing your hands, like, you know, rubbing into your own hands kind of releases like that kind of tension as well. And it's like that we were saying, mothering yourself, you know, because like love heals all wounds, you know. And it's an
mm,
amazing thing to think of that, I think, because we can get very caught up in the science and, you know, reflection and contemplation and going into everything. But really, when it comes to it, like love is the greatest healer of everything. You know, it builds secure attachment, you know, to life, to ourselves, to other people, and it's the greatest tool, I guess, isn't it, for healing and for growth. You know, so like touch is like the vehicle for that, I guess, isn't it, as well? You know, it goes beyond words, and yeah, it's a way of
is
expressing
the
that.
expression of love, how we
Yeah.
can express, passing on the information of love. So, what a great
Wow.
conversation! Like, really, I
Yeah.
think we're off touch. You know, we've sort of like let it out into the world now. Hope we've
Yeah.
inspired many of you now to go and
Mm.
really
Practice
practice using
that.
touch in a healthy way,
Yes,
loving
exactly.
way. Yeah.
In a loving way, yeah.
Well, thank
True
you
love.
for joining us today. Yeah,
Yeah,
true love.
yeah.
Loves true touch.
Oh, that's beautiful. Very poetic, Lisa. Gorgeous.
So thank you all for joining us. We've had a beautiful conversation once again. Thank you,
Yeah.
Caroline.
Oh, I really love that, Lisa. Thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you all and talking and sharing again on Monday. And we'll continue the conversation. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.